Most people spend their lives running from pain, trying to numb it, escape it, deny it. But what if I told you that pain is not your enemy, it's your assignment? See, the problem isn't that we feel pain, the problem is that we misunderstand it. Pain is a signal, a divine whisper wrapped in discomfort. It's not here to destroy you, it's here to deliver you. Every ounce of pain you've experienced was never meant to stop you, it was meant to start something in you. You were never meant to avoid your pain, you were meant to interpret it, because pain has a voice, and it always speaks with purpose. That betrayal, it wasn't just a wound, it was a revelation. That loss, it wasn't just heartbreak, it was alignment. That delay, it wasn't denial, it was divine development. You see, pain doesn't visit randomly. It's assigned, it's targeted, it shows up in the places where something greater is trying to be born. Think about it. When does the seed break? When it's underground, under pressure, in the dark, unseen. That breaking feels like destruction, but it's not. It's the beginning of becoming. And you, just like that seed, had to be buried in some things. Shame, rejection, failure, confusion, so that something powerful could emerge. You had to be broken open, not to expose your weakness, but to activate your purpose. And I know it doesn't feel fair. I know it doesn't make sense at first, but purpose never feels comfortable at the beginning. It often comes disguised as pain because it's trying to lead you to places comfort never could. Your comfort zone might keep you safe, but it will never make you powerful. And pain pushes you out of what's familiar so you can walk into what's faithful. The truth is, people who are used mightily almost always suffer deeply. Not because life is cruel, but because they've been called. They've been marked, set apart. And sometimes to be set apart, you have to be broken apart. But here's the beauty. What breaks you today builds others tomorrow. And what hurts now will one day become the story someone else hangs on to when they're ready to give up. Pain births empathy. Pain breeds wisdom. Pain produces depth. And if you're willing to lean in instead of run away, it will reveal something sacred. Your why. Your reason. Your assignment, your edge, the thing that makes you show up different, speak different, lead different, love different. You didn't go through what you went through for nothing. It wasn't wasted. It was woven. Every tear, every night you cried yourself to sleep, every moment you questioned your worth, it all planted something. And if you let it grow, it'll become strength. Not the kind that fakes a smile, not the kind that hides the scars, but the kind that says, look what I survived and look what I've become. You weren't meant to carry the pain forever, but you were meant to carry what it taught you. That's where the power is. That's where the transformation begins, not when you get over the pain, but when you go through it and come out with revelation. The kind of revelation that makes you unshakable, the kind that changes lives. So don't curse your pain. Don't waste your struggle. Ask what it's trying to tell you. Ask what it's trying to wake up in you. Because when you realize your pain has a purpose, it stops being your prison. It starts being your platform. It's easy to look at your struggles and think they define who you are. The broken relationships, the financial setbacks, the moments of deep insecurity, all of them try to convince you that you're not enough, that you're not worthy, that your life is just one big collection of failures. But let me tell you something real and raw. Your struggles may shape you, but they do not define you. The fire doesn't burn you to ashes. It forges you into something stronger. Life will throw things at you that make you question everything, your identity, your value, your future. But in those moments, what's really happening isn't destruction. It's refinement. It's a process, and processes are messy. They're painful, they're confusing, but they are necessary. Diamonds don't form without pressure. Gold doesn't shine until it's put through fire, and greatness doesn't emerge without adversity. Your struggle is not proof of weakness, it's proof of purpose. The very fact that you've been tested this hard means that something powerful is trying to be born through you. You were never meant to stay in survival mode. You were meant to elevate through it. But in order to do that, you've got to shift your perspective. Stop seeing your struggle as a sentence and start seeing it as a setup. People who avoid pain stay the same. People who embrace struggle become undeniable. They grow roots. They gain depth. They learn things about themselves that smooth seasons never could have revealed. And you've been learning all along. Every time you failed but got back up, every time you didn't feel strong but kept moving, every time you doubted your worth but chose to show up anyway, that was growth. That was refinement. And here's the truth. Some of the greatest voices, the most impactful leaders, the most compassionate hearts came from the most difficult places. Why? Because pain taught them how to see, struggle taught them how to serve, loss taught them how to love, and now their strength carries a weight that's real, that's rooted, that's earned. You don't come out of struggle looking polished. You come out of it transformed. And that transformation is exactly what disqualifies your past from defining your future. Just because it happened doesn't mean it's who you are. Just because it hurt doesn't mean it's the whole story. Just because it broke you for a moment doesn't mean it broke you forever. See, the enemy wants you to attach your identity to your scars, but your scars aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of survival. They're not labels of what you lost. They're proof of what you overcame. You don't have to be ashamed of them. You can walk in them boldly, knowing they're part of your refining, not your defining. This is the power of perspective. When you understand that your struggle isn't the end, but a turning point, you stop asking, why me, and start declaring, watch me. Watch me grow from this. Watch me rise from this. Watch me use this. Because struggle may be the teacher, but you get to choose the lesson. You are not your failure. You are not your trauma. You are not your rejection. You are who you've become because of what you've been through. And who you've become, that person has vision. That person has compassion. That person has power rooted in real experience. So when struggle shows up, don't shrink, don't retreat. Stand still and let the refining happen. Let it burn off the fear, the insecurity, the false identity. Let it reveal the strength that was there all along. Because once you've been refined, you'll never be the same again. You'll walk different, speak different, live different, and the world will know it. There's a moment in everyone's journey when the pain becomes too loud to ignore, when the silence in your soul starts to echo and you realize something has broken, not around you, but inside you. That kind of breaking feels like the end. But what if it's not the end at all? What if that breaking is the very beginning of your power? See, the world teaches us to fear being broken, to hide it, to patch it up. But brokenness isn't the enemy. It's the place where your real power starts to rise. Because when you've been broken, you stop pretending, you stop performing, you stop living from ego and start living from essence. And that essence, that's where your power lives. There's something sacred that happens when you hit the bottom. When the titles fade, when the applause stops, when the distractions go silent and you're left with nothing but you and the truth. That's when transformation begins, because power doesn't grow in the spotlight. It grows in the soil, the deep, dark, messy places where healing happens, where surrender becomes strength. You were never meant to pretend you had it all together. You were meant to come undone so something stronger could come alive. Power doesn't come from being untouched by pain. It comes from being transformed by it. You don't need perfection to be powerful. You need honesty. You need vulnerability. You need truth, because when you're real with your pain, you unlock the power to be real with your purpose. People think strength is about control, about pushing through, about never showing weakness. But real strength, the kind that shifts atmospheres and changes lives. That kind of strength is born from brokenness. It's born from the nights you cried out for something to change, the days you didn't think you could make it, the moments when your heart shattered, but somehow you got up anyway. Every time life broke you, it also built you. You didn't just survive it, you absorbed it, you learned from it. You let it shape something deeper in you. That's power, quiet power, solid power, the kind of power that doesn't have to prove itself because it knows where it came from. And that's what makes you dangerous to everything that tried to destroy you, because you're not operating from pride. You're operating from truth, from identity, from healing, and healed people. They walk in a different kind of power. They're not reactive, they're responsive. They don't chase approval, they carry purpose. They don't echo pain, they speak peace. You've been broken, but now you're wiser. You've been torn, but now you're whole. And that wholeness isn't about putting the pieces back the way they were. It's about building something new from the pieces, something stronger, something unshakable. You've got to stop seeing your brokenness as a setback. It's a passage, a doorway, the sacred transformation that strips away what you thought you needed so you can finally discover who you really are. You're not weak because you were broken. You're powerful because you didn't stay broken. And now, every scar you carry is a symbol of a battle you overcame. Every time you said, "I can't," but showed up anyway, that was power. Every moment you loved again, trusted again, tried again, that was power. Your brokenness didn't diminish your value, it revealed it. It exposed what can't be shaken, your core, your character, your calling. So don't be afraid to own your brokenness. Don't hide your cracks. That's where the light gets in. That's where the power flows out. Because at the end of the day, it's not the polished version of you that changes the world. It's the healed, whole, powerful you that was forged through the fire and still chose to rock. There's a certain kind of pain that comes with waiting. When you've prayed, worked, cried, believed, and still nothing changes. Doors don't open. People don't show up. Answers don't come. And in that silence, doubt starts to whisper. You begin to wonder if all your effort, all your endurance, all your hope was wasted. But just because it hasn't happened yet, does that mean it won't happen? What you think is a pause might actually be a process, a divine preparation. See, we love the idea of breakthrough, of sudden success, of overnight change, but purpose rarely works like that. Purpose unfolds over time, and struggle often stretches the timeline. But that doesn't mean you've been forgotten. It means you're being forged. Sometimes life holds back the blessing, not because you're unworthy of it, but because you're not ready for it. Not yet. If the door opened too early, you might walk into it with insecurity, with broken patterns, with the wrong mindset, and what should have been a blessing would become a burden. So that delay, it's grace in disguise. You've got to shift how you see time. You've got to stop measuring your progress by how quickly things happen and start measuring it by how faithfully you grow. Because the truth is, most people give up in the delay. They abort the mission during the wait. They confuse silence for absence. But silence is often the setup for strategy. And what feels like nothing happening on the surface is actually everything happening underneath. Seeds don't grow the moment you plant them. They grow in the darkness beneath the soil, unseen. But give them time, give them consistency, give them patience, and they break through. The same is true for you. Your breakthrough has a timestamp, but it's not on your watch. It's on heaven's calendar. And that calendar doesn't miss. When you're in the waiting room of life, you have two choices: grow bitter or grow better. Delay will either harden you or strengthen you depending on how you carry it. And you don't grow by rushing the process. You grow by trusting it. by showing up even when there's no applause, by staying ready even when there's no opportunity in sight, by believing in what's coming, not just what you see. That's what builds the kind of character that lasts. Because power without preparation is dangerous. Influence without maturity is destructive. But when you allow delay to mature you, to humble you, to refine you, you're not just waiting anymore. You're becoming. I know it's hard. I know it's frustrating to see others rise while you're still stuck, but comparison kills confidence. Their journey isn't yours. Their timeline doesn't apply to your calling. What's for you is still for you, and no delay can cancel what's been divinely assigned. So don't lose faith in the wait. Don't question your value just because your timing is different. The delay isn't there to break you, it's there to build you, because when the door does open, you won't just walk through it, you'll own it. You'll be prepared for it. What you endure in delay becomes your wisdom in destiny. What you carry in the waiting becomes your weapon in the winning. And one day, when you step into what you were created for, you'll look back and realize the wait wasn't a waste. It was the womb where strength, patience, and faith were born. So hold on, keep moving, keep growing. Delay is not denial, it's divine design. There's a certain weight to struggle that makes you feel forgotten. Like maybe the pain disqualified you, like maybe the heartbreak, the failure, the trauma somehow proved you weren't good enough, strong enough, chosen enough. But let me tell you this, the fact that you've been through what you've been through isn't proof that you've been chosen. Struggle doesn't show up in your life to stop you. It shows up because there's something inside of you too powerful to be left unshaped. You were never meant to live an average life. That's why you couldn't walk an average path. You were called to rise above what others settle for. But to rise, you had to be refined. That's why the attacks came early. That's why the weight hit heavy. It wasn't punishment, it was preparation for the level you were designed to carry. People who were chosen are often misunderstood, isolated, targeted. The pressure doesn't come because you're weak. It comes because you carry something valuable. And when you carry purpose, you attract resistance. But resistance is not rejection. It's a sign that you matter, that what's on your life is too impactful to be left undeveloped. So if you've been wondering why your path feels so heavy, why you had to fight battles others didn't, why you've been called to walk alone sometimes, it's because chosen people are called to rise, not by accident, not by popularity, but by assignment. And rising doesn't start on mountaintops. It starts in the valley. It starts in the shadows. It starts in the breaking, the crying, the doubting, and still choosing to get up. What you thought disqualified you was actually the qualifier. That pain you tried to hide, that's the power others need to see. That story you thought was too messy, that's the exact message someone else needs to hear. Your calling isn't born from your perfection. It's born from your process, even when it doesn't make sense. Even when you don't feel ready. You were chosen not because you're flawless, but because you're willing to grow, willing to heal, willing to step into something bigger than your fear, your past, or your comfort. You're chosen because you've got the heart to serve even when you're tired, the courage to lead even when you're shaking, and the resilience to keep showing up even when nothing makes sense. And here's the part most people don't understand. Being chosen doesn't always feel good. It feels lonely, it feels unfair, it feels like carrying a weight no one else sees. But that weight, that's your preparation for greatness. It's stretching your faith, expanding your capacity, shaping your identity, because when you rise, you won't just rise for you, you'll rise with power and for others. You'll rise with the kind of strength that only comes from surviving what tried to bury you, with the kind of wisdom that only comes from walking through fire and refusing to quit, and with the kind of voice that only comes from living what you speak. So stop asking if you're enough. Stop shrinking when life gets hard. Start seeing the struggle for what it is, evidence that you've been set apart, that your calling is real, that you've been chosen to rise. And when you rise, you don't have to explain yourself. You just walk in it boldly, freely, fully. Because the world doesn't need another person trying to fit in. The world needs what only you can give. You didn't go through all that pain to stay on the ground. You were shaped in the fire so you could rise in the light, not just to survive, but to lead, to heal, and to transform. When you've been through deep pain, when life has broken you, tested you, and stretched you, it's easy to think all you'll ever be is a survivor. But surviving isn't the end of your story. It's just the beginning. You didn't go through what you went through just to say, I made it. You went through it so you could transform it, so you could take everything that tried to break you and use it as fuel to build something greater than the pain itself. See, your story isn't just for you. The lessons you've learned, the tears you've cried, the nights you laid awake asking why, they weren't wasted, they were invested. Every scar has wisdom. Every loss has a seed. And when you decide to stop surviving and start sowing those seeds into something bigger, that's when your life becomes purpose in motion. You were never meant to carry your pain in silence. You were meant to channel it. Turn it into strength, turn it into empathy, turn it into leadership. There's somebody out there right now walking through what almost crushed you, and you've got the key they need, not because you're perfect, but because you remember the fear, you remember the shame, you remember the feeling of being stuck, and more importantly, you remember the fight to rise. Your greatest contribution won't come from what you escaped, it will come from what you embraced, what you allowed to change you, to grow you, to deepen you. And now it's time to give it away, not out of obligation, but out of overflow. When healing takes root, it starts to multiply. And when you open your mouth, your story becomes someone else's survival guide. And this is the shift from pain to power, from survival to service, from being rescued to becoming the one who rescues. You don't need a platform. You don't need a spotlight. All you need is a willingness to be real, to show up, and to pour out what's been poured into you. That's legacy. That's impact. That's purpose. Because here's the truth, transformation isn't complete until it touches someone else. You were never just meant to heal for you. You were meant to be a vessel of healing for others. That's how your pain gets redeemed. That's how your struggle gains value when you look back at the storm and realize it built a bridge. And now you get to walk others across it. So no, your pain wasn't pointless. Your tears weren't wasted. Your fight wasn't in vain. All of it was shaping you for this moment. The moment when you stop hiding your story and start owning it. Not as a victim, but as a vessel. Not as someone broken, but as someone rebuilt. Stronger, clearer, more powerful. And now that you've made it through, it's time to rise with purpose, to give, to serve, to speak, not from perfection, but from truth, not from ego, but from love, because your voice carries authority now, not just because of what you know, but because of what you've endured. Let that be the mission, not just to survive the struggle, but to transform it. To become a living example that pain doesn't get the last word, purpose does. To light the way for those still in the dark, to turn your wounds into wisdom, your past into someone else's permission to hope again. You didn't go through all of that just to sit in silence. You went through it to become a beacon, a guide, a living reminder that even in the deepest pain, purpose is still alive. And now it's your turn to give it away. That's not just power, that's legacy in motion.